We all know what the miracle of Hanukkah was, right? What was it? Tell me, somebody. In the back. The oil. Right, that was supposed to burn for 1 day, but it burned for 8 days. Ooh, what'd you say? I heard a voice. It was a heavenly voice. All right, some say it was also a military miracle, which it was. But this is what I want to ask you about that miracle of the oil. If the Maccabees found 1 cruse of oil and thought it would only last for 1 day, why did they bother to light the menorah? Why would they light it if they didn't know that it would be enough, that it wouldn't, if they didn't think it would be able to fulfill its purpose? Is that Lizzie? Tell me, baby. Thank you, Lizzie. Yes. So they didn't think it would work, but they tried anyway. They tried anyway. The Maccabees were not deterred by this seemingly impossible situation. And this is the secret to us as a Jewish people, that you don't have to figure everything out before you try. You just try. No matter how bad the situation, no matter how impossible the probability of success, we are optimistic, we're full of hope, as Golda Meir put it. Jews can't afford the luxury of pessimism. As Ben-Gurion reminded us, that in order to be a realist, you need to believe in miracles. And so I want to share with you a story of a little girl. Well, she's not a little girl anymore, now she's 27, but a girl named Jennifer. Jennifer was a few months old when she was adopted by Sharon and Gerald Bricker. She had big brown eyes, a radiant smile, and a huge amount of energy. She also had no legs. This is why her birth parents gave her up for adoption. They saw this legless baby and thought, she'd never walk, she'd never run, she'd never play, she'd need prosthetics, she'd need to be carried, and they thought they couldn't do it. When a doctor advised her adoptive parents to carry her around in a kind of bucket, they refused. Where others looked at this baby and had pity on the baby, thinking of all she would never do, her adoptive parents saw her and saw no limits to what this little girl could accomplish. Jennifer soon learned to walk and run on her hands and her bottom. And she grew up fearlessly, climbing trees and bouncing on the trampoline with her 3 older brothers. At the age of 3, she was fitted with prosthetic legs, but she never really liked them. She moved more freely without. At school, Jennifer loved competing in ball games. She said, "I was right there with everyone else. My parents didn't treat me differently, so I didn't get the idea that I was different. I knew I didn't have legs, but that wasn't going to stop me from doing the things that I wanted to do." The Brickers had always been open with her about her adoption. She says, "I knew I was Romanian, and that probably a good reason why I was given up for adoption was because I didn't have legs. But at the same time, they made sure that she felt loved and she felt wanted, and told her that she was the answer to their prayers, their little girl." Jennifer grew up in a tiny community in Illinois. The first time she saw a fellow Romanian was on TV. It was 1996, and the Olympic Games were taking place in Atlanta. Jennifer loved to watch women's gymnastics, but there was one member of the team that she idolized, 14-year-old Dominique Moceanu. She was only 6 years older, And she was drawn to her because, as she said, we looked alike, and that was so important to me. No one looked like me growing up. I didn't know any other Romanian people, and I just saw myself in her in so many ways, and that was a big deal to me. Moșanu and the women's team went on to win the gold. And it was at that moment Jennifer decided she was going to be a gymnast too. She took up power tumbling, which involves performing floor exercises down a runway. But Jennifer didn't want any allowances to be made for her disability. When she competed, she wanted to know she was really winning. She remembers spectators being surprised by her when they saw her. But they would say, wow, this girl doesn't have any legs, but look at her competing. She loved the sport. She loved competing. And people would applaud and cheer for her. They were so surprised at what she could accomplish. And at the age of 10, she took part in the Junior Olympics. And by age 11, she was a tumbling champion for the state of Illinois. So this is already a true story, by the way, but a story of miracles, of trying even when it seems hopeless. But another miracle happened as well. When Jennifer was 16, she asked her mother if there was anything else about her adoption that she hadn't shared with her. She really wasn't expecting her mom to say yes, because they'd always been so open, but to her surprise, her mother did have something important to tell her. Jennifer's adoption was meant to have been a closed adoption, but there was a mistake, and her parents' names were left on one of the forms. Then, during the 1996 Olympics, the TV cameras had cut to Dominique's mother, Camila, and her father, Dumitru, in the crowd. And as their names flashed upon the screen, the Brickers realized they were looking at Jennifer's birth parents. Jennifer realized at that moment that her Olympic idol was her biological sister. The miracle of the oil was a miracle indeed, but it only happened because the Maccabees tried. Because even though they didn't believe they had enough, they lit the menorah anyway. Like the girl with no legs who became a gymnastics champion and is now a successful aerialist. Like the boy with the stutter who became God's mouthpiece. Like Albert Einstein, Stephen Hawking, Leonardo da Vinci, and Pablo Picasso, who all had dyslexia and went on to change the world through their incredible minds. We all feel at some moments that we are not enough, but the miracle of the oil is there to teach us to just try. We have so much light to give. Shabbat Shalom.